Let's get started today. I want to welcome everyone. My name is Terry Hatmaker, and today we are going to look at some enhancements that have been made in CDM Plus 11 to Roommate and Accounts Receivable, how they've been integrated together. Um, Before we begin, I want to let you know we will answer questions at the end. We will be we'll be accepting questions via the chat window. And so you can enter your question at any time during the webinar, and Chris Widener will be monitoring those for me. And we will get to as many of those as we can at the end. So I saw that, we don't have a lot of roommate users or accounts receivable. So I'm going to use this as an opportunity to show you what these products can do for you. And so one of the things that we're going to look at today is how these two integrate. And so just a question, have you ever wanted to automatically generate an invoice from your calendar product, since you're not using Roommate, another product, but you want to, generate that invoice and have it go into CDM Plus? Well, with CDM Plus 11 now, Roommate and Accounts Receivable integrates and allows you to do that. You can use that for things such as for tracking facility use, like weddings, family gatherings, social organization meetings, and those kinds of things. You enter that into Roommate, and then you can generate your invoices to Accounts Receivable. So what we're going to do today is we're going to show you the process of entering an event and then making it billable, and then generating the invoice and showing you what happens when you do that, both in Accounts Receivable and in Roommate. In addition, at the end of the webinar, we will give you a couple of pro tips of what the new CDM Plus 11 can do to help you and your organization go paperless. So let's get started today. First thing we need to do in order to set this up is we need to go into the CDM Plus system preferences and set up the preferences for Roommate. So we'll go to CDM Plus menu. If you're on Windows, it would be File. You go to CDM Plus, go to Preferences, and go to CDM Plus System. This opens the System Preferences window. You want to look at the toolbar at the top, and you want to go to the Roommate tab. And now in this window, you have a new icon called Posting. And so here we're going to click on Posting, and there is a field presented to us for entering an income account. So we have entered an income account to be able to track the monies coming in for facility use. And so we'll click on the Select Account button, bring up this window, and we'll find our facility use income account. And we'll just double click that. That places it into that field. And now we have finished our setup for being able to post and generate invoices from Roommate. So now we'll open up Event Schedule, and I have that already opened here. In order to get to that, I would normally go to Program, Roommate, and Schedule. And so that would bring up that window. Now, what are we going to look at today? Well, we've got two requests that have come in, both from Joan Dillard. Joan's going to have a family New Year's gathering on the 31st and would like access to the gym. And so she's provided us her name and her email information as well as phone. She also is a Girl Scout leader and wants to use our facilities for her Girl Scout troop once a quarter, the second Tuesday of every quarter, beginning on the 11th of January of 2020. The agreed amount cost for that was $100, and the agreed amount for the Dillard family New Year's gathering is also $100. So let's enter these in a roommate and see how we do this. So the easiest way to do this is we have a December 31st date here for the family gathering. And so we go and we look for the 31st, and there's some empty space here. So I can just double click, and this brings up the event information window. And so right now I've got a untitled event, and I want to give that an event. We'll call this Dillard Family New Year Gathering. It's going to be on the 31st. It's going to start at 8 p.m. and it's going to end on 1/1/20 at 1 a.m. We're going to have we can set up, we can establish a setup time and takedown time. And so in this case, we're going to say the setup needs to be done by 5 p.m. and takedown on, we're not going to worry about that because that'll be done on a different date. Now we have to concern ourselves with what rooms or what part of the facility are they going to be using. So in this case, they're going to be using the gym. And so we just begin typing gym, and it automatically puts it in when I click on my tab key. If they were going to use another room, we could just keep adding as many rooms as we wish by clicking add room. Now, in order to have a payment or a billing for this room, what we're going to do is we're going to click on the billing tab. Now, to show you where the differences lie, we're going to go and I'm going to show you the 1026 window, same tab, and you see there's quite a bit of difference here. We do still have a fee charged, so we have the event fee, but now we have an invoice date, payment received, payment date that was in 1026, and they're no longer in the CDM Plus 11 version. In the 11 version, we have the event fee and a customer field, along with this invoice number, which right now is 0 because an invoice hasn't been generated. So what we need to do is we need to click back into CDM Plus 11. We need to enter our event fee of $100. And then we need to go to list and see if Joan is in this system. And Joan is not in our customer list already, so we can click on add customer. We don't have to get out of roommate. Click on add customer. And that brings up the customer records in, and it's inserted a new record. So we're going to say this is Dillo1. Name is Joan Dillard. And her phone number was 865-555-5555. Her email address is joandillard2019@gmail.com. I believe that is correct. I go back and look at our records, and that's it. And so now we can save this. Close this window, come back to the customer list, and go down, and we can find Joan's name right here. So we can double click, and that places Joan right within the customer field. Now, this is a one-day gathering period. So we click on save. And do we want default resources? We're just going to uncheck that for now. Click OK. And so if we come down and we can see in December 31st, we have the Dillard family New Year gathering. Now, there was also another event that she wants to place on the calendar, and that's the Big City Girl Scout group, and they will meet throughout 2020 on the second Tuesday of each quarter. And so we need to come in here. Now we need to go to January. So we just click on the next button. And it is on the second Tuesday. And actually, I got the wrong date here, but that's all right. So we'll double click on the second Tuesday. And we'll call this Big City Girl Scout group. They're going to meet from 6 p.m. to 8. The setup time, everything needs to be set up by 5. Since this is on a Tuesday and we'll need the facilities on Wednesday, we want to make sure that someone is there and takes down everything by around 8:30. The room they're going to be using, we can also click on this drop down and go down and we see the gym, double click the gym. If there was a specific configuration, we could use that. In this case, there is none. But again, we go to the billing. The price is going to be $100. And since we have Joan in our system now, we can type Joan and hit tab and it brings up her name. Now this is a recurring event. So we need to go to the recurring event tab. And this is going to be quarterly. So we could choose quarterly, or we could go to advanced. And since we're doing the second Tuesday, we need to go to advanced. And we come here and we look at advanced setup and we can say, okay, we want this to be on Tuesday, the second Tuesday in January, April. Wait a second. Yeah. July and October. We do want this to end. So we're going to say that this is going to end on 12/31/20. If we say never end, it's going to create an event in Roommate on the second Tuesday, January, April, and so forth, forever. And so we want this to stop, because if they want to do this again in 2021, they can give us a request and we can re-enter that new request at that time. So now we can click on save. Again, we're not going to worry about assigning default resources. We click OK. So if we look here, we see that on this particular date, oh, I'm looking at the wrong day. Here it is. So this is the second Tuesday. If I could count, that would be great, because here's the first Tuesday, here's the second Tuesday, Terry. So we will double click this. And you see, again, here's our billing. Still have no invoices because we haven't generated any. Let's go and look at April. And now the second Tuesday in April, again, is the 14th, and there is Big City. Now, one of the advantages of this by setting a recurring is that for each recurring event, there's also billing set up. So that means when you go to generate your invoices for April, an invoice for this particular event would also be generated. So how do we generate invoices? So let's go back, get our calendar back to January. And so to generate invoices, you're going to go up to the program menu, I'm going to go down to roommate. I'm going to say generate invoices. And we want to look at just generating the invoices now for the December timeframe. And so we'll say 12/1 through 12/31. And then we'll click the preview button. So now the program's going out and is looking for all of the events that have billing established for the month of December. So if I make this a little bit larger, you'll see that we have a number of different ones. And if we go all the way to the bottom, because they are in order, the very last one here is for Joan Dillard, and that's for the Dillard Family New Year Gathering. So we have all of our the appropriate invoices that we want to generate for December. And so now all we do is we click on generate. And it asks, do you want to? And I say yes. And I'll click the screen. Notice that right here you have, for these invoice numbers, when you're looking at preview, it's NA, because we haven't given an invoice number yet. But now when I print this window out, you'll see that there's an invoice number for each item now. So if we go down to the Dillard Family New Year, that invoice number is 164. So let's go back to our calendar and let's go to the second Tuesday. Let's go back to December, and let's pull up the Dillard family. And let's go to billing now. And you see now there's an invoice number of 164, just like it says here. And this little jump button is active. So if I click on this jump button, it will open up the invoice over in accounts receivable. So that's all that it takes to generate an invoice from Roommate to accounts receivable. Now, I promised a pro tip. Well, last week we had a webinar on the integration of accounts receivable and the ability to integrate with Engage using Engage billing. The pro tip is, now with CDM Plus 11 and accounts receivable, you can go completely paperless with the system. With accounts receivable now, once you generate your, if we go into receivable and generate your monthly statements for December, once you do that, now you have the option of being able to go into receivable reports, come down into statements, and email statements. So you have the choice of either printing or emailing statements. And so that's a very handy way, makes it a lot more efficient, no trips, no postage, anything like that. You just email your statements to your people. All you have to do is make sure that you have email addresses for all your customers. And so that would be one thing that you need to remember to do. Now, once your customers receive the statements, now they can also go onto your Engage site. You can give them an Engage login on the notice letter that's sent. And then from there, they can go in, create an account. You don't have to do anything in CDM Plus on the membership side or giving side. They would just create an Engage account. Once it's created and they can log in, they would go to Engage billing and make a payment. Once that payment is made, it then goes through the regular process that online giving would, or event registration. It goes to stewardship technology, it gets processed, the money is then deposited in your bank, and at that point, it would then show up in accounting deposit processing that you could process that and get it into your ledger. So it's a complete life cycle of accounts receivable now that is completely paperless and is very handy because you don't have to do a lot of entering of data yourself. Like in this particular instance, you enter your roommate events, put in the amounts and the customers, and click, and invoices are created. It's a very simple, very efficient way for you to track facility use. And we hope that you'll take advantage of that with CDM Plus 11.